Good afternoon to all of you. I hope you people are healthy and well. In furtherance of previous lectures, today I am going to discuss another offense against property, that is receipt of stolen property. These provisions are available from section 410 to 414. So from 410 to 414, there is the offense of receipt of stolen property. You know, a market for stolen goods is the best encouragement for theft, robbery, dacoity, and other similar crimes. In order to curtail such crime, it is important that there exists no demand for such goods. However, the stolen goods being available at rates lower than the market rate of a genuine product attract many buyers, thus providing a market for the articles wrongfully gained. To discourage theft and other such offences, acceptance of stolen property and dealing with it has been made punishable under the Indian Penal Code 1860. Section 410 defines stolen property. चुराई हुई संपत्ति का मतलब क्या है, यह धारा 410 में बताया गया है भारतीय दंड संहिता के. The provision is as it is: property the possession whereof has been transferred by theft or by extortion or by robbery, and property which has been criminally misappropriated or in respect of which criminal breach of trust has been committed is designated as stolen property. Whether the transfer has been made or the misappropriation or breach of trust has been committed within or without India, but if such property subsequently comes into the possession of a person legally entitled to the possession thereof, it then ceases to be stolen property. On the other hand, section 411 talks about dishonestly receiving stolen property. Section 410 defines what is stolen property, and section 411 talks about dishonestly receiving such stolen property. It says, whoever dishonestly receives or retains any stolen property, knowing or having reason to believe the same to be stolen property, shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 3 years, or with fine, or with both. What are the essential ingredients of such offense? In order to convict a person for the offense of receiving stolen property, it is necessary to establish 3 facts. प्रोसिक्यूशन पार्टी को 3 बातों को प्रूफ करना होगा बियॉन्ड रीजनेबल डाउट. फर्स्ट, दैट द प्रॉपर्टी इन क्वेश्चन वाज स्टोलन प्रॉपर्टी. सेकेंड, इट वाज डिसऑनेस्टली रिसीव्ड और रिटेन्ड. एंड थर्ड इज द एक्यूज्ड न्यू or had reason to believe that the property was stolen property. The definition of stolen property in section 410 IPC is narrower than the similar provision of Larceny Act in England, which includes property obtained by cheating as well, whereas section 410 does not include it. So first point is that property must be stolen property. What is stolen property? Let us see. To be termed stolen property, it must have gone out of the control of the owner, and it must have been received by the accused as stolen property, and not in any other manner. The point is illustrated in the decisions of the following two cases. For example, four thieves stole goods from the custody of railway company and sent them by a parcel in the same company's line addressed to the accused. During the transit, the theft was discovered, and on the arrival of the parcel at the station for delivery, a policeman in the service of the company opened it and then returned it to the porter who was under the duty to deliver it. Under instructions to keep it till further order, on the following day, the policeman ordered the porter to take it to its address, whereas it was received by the accused. The police thereafter got hold of him, and the court held that the goods had reached its lawful owner, the railway company, so that it could no longer be called stolen goods, and thus the receipt of it could no way be receipt of stolen property. तो इसमें stolen property नहीं पाया गया. Let us see another example. A parcel was handed over to the prosecutors, a firm of carriers, for conveyance of the consignees. While in the prosecutor's depot, a servant of the prosecutors removed the parcel to a different part of the premises and placed upon it a label addressed to the accused. The superintendent of prosecutor's business, on receipt of information to this, and after inspection of the parcel, directed it to be sent to the addressee in a van, along with two detectives. The parcel was duly received by the accused under the belief that it was stolen. It was still held by the court that the property, having come under the possession of the actual owners before it received by the accused, it has ceased to be stolen, and the accused could not be convicted of receiving it, knowing it to have been stolen. So, when there is no evidence to identify of the property seized from the accused person as stolen property, conviction against the accused under 411 does not sustain. Another point is that stolen property, ownerless property. There can be no theft in case of derelict or ownerless property, also known as res nullius. So when a person lets loose a bull as a part of a religious ceremony, he surrenders all his rights as the proprietor of the property, and consequently its misappropriation by another person would not make him liable under this section. तो चोरी की संपत्ति तभी हो सकती है जब वो संपत्ति किसी के ओनर में हो, किसी की संपत्ति हो या किसी के कब्जे में हो और दूसरे ने ले लिया हो. If there is a res nullius property, there is no such offense. Within or without India, the word whether the transfer has been made or the misappropriation or breach of trust has been committed within or without India were inserted by section 9 of the Indian Penal Code Amendment Act 1882, though the term India was substituted in 1951 for the term the state. The scope of the term stolen property has been enlarged, and the act by which the property has been stolen no longer need be an act punishable under IPC. The amendment was made in consequence of Muruga Chetty's case, which decided that the bills of exchange stolen in Mauritius were not stolen property, so as to make the receiver in Bombay liable under section 411 of IPC. Property obtained otherwise, another element. The section is very narrow in the sense that it includes only that property as stolen which is obtained by theft, robbery, dacoity or extortion. Property which has been obtained by means of other than those, for example by forgery or by cheating, would not fall within the meaning of stolen property as defined in this section. तो प्रॉपर्टी कैसे ऑब्टेन की गई हो, या तो थेफ्ट के द्वारा, रॉबरी, डकैती और एक्सटॉर्शन के थ्रू. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज आइडेंटिटी ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी. There should be substantial identity between the stolen property and the article found in the possession of the accused. So long as the stolen articles remain the same in substance, though altered in appearance, it does not cease to be stolen property. Thus, if a stolen golden ornament is melted into golden piece, it is still stolen property. Chief Justice Beaumont said in a case thus that it is necessary to prove that the property which was produced is the property, but it need not necessarily be produced in the form which it possessed when it was stolen. If a gold necklace is stolen and exchanged for another necklace or bullock, it is obvious that the second necklace or the bullock is not the stolen property. But if the golden necklace is melted down and converted into an ingot, it does not cease to be the same golden necklace that was stolen. What was stolen was gold in the form of a necklace, and what is produced is the same necklace in the form of an ingot. Dishonestly receiving or retaining stolen property, ऐसी चोरी की संपत्ति को डिसऑनेस्टली बेईमानी पूर्वक रिसीव किया गया हो या उसको रिटेन किया गया हो, अपने पास रखा गया हो. कैसे इस पॉइंट को डिस्कस करना देखते हैं. The section does not deal with mere receipt of the property, but clearly indicate the necessity of a dishonest intention. It is necessary for the prosecution to establish that the accused has either dishonestly received or retained the stolen property. In either case, the accused must receive it from another. It is therefore necessary for the prosecution to prove that there was some other who was in possession of the property before the accused has either received or retained it. However, it is significant to note that dishonest reception is different from the dishonest retention. In case of dishonest retention, dishonestly supervenes after the act of acquisition of possession, while in the case of reception, dishonest reception, dishonesty associates with the act of such acquisition. A person who retains possession of property dishonestly therefore possesses it dishonestly. But he who possesses it dishonestly does not necessarily retain it dishonestly. Dishonest retention implies a change in the mental element of possession from honest to dishonest in relation to the thing possessed. Attention should be paid to the use of both the word received and retained in this section. The lawmakers have very cautiously imposed liability not only on those who receive stolen property, knowing it to be stolen, but also on those who receive the property honestly but later on retain it dishonestly. Thus, the liability of a person who retains dishonestly a property that he received honestly is no less than that of a person who receives it dishonestly. Receiving or retaining such stolen property with knowledge, it is another point. The essence of receiving stolen property consists in the receipt or retention of property with full knowledge or having reason to believe at the time of the receipt that the property was obtained in one of the ways specified in section 410. The accused must have known or must have had reason to believe the property to be stolen. The word believe is much stronger word than suspect, and it involves the necessity of showing that the circumstances were such that a reasonable man must have felt convinced in his mind that the property with which he was dealing must be stolen property. It is not sufficient to show that the accused was careless or he had reason to suspect that the property was stolen, or that he didn't make sufficient inquiry to ascertain if it had been honestly acquired. It is immaterial whether the receiver knows or not who stole it. Initial receipt of property may be honest, but its retention becomes dishonest if he continues to possess it even after he comes to know that the property is stolen. Possession, it is another element. An accused can be said to have committed the offense of receiving stolen property in respect of only the property recovered from him. The fact that the rest of the property has not been recovered from him does not affect his liability. However, actual physical possession of the goods is not essential. Thus, in a case where a consignee presented a railway receipt of certain stolen goods to a station master, paid the freight and received formal delivery of the package from the latter, it was held that the goods had come to be not merely in the potential possession of the consignee, but actually within his power and unrestricted control, though he had not removed them from the station where they were lying, nor made any attempt to do so, and that he had received them within the meaning of this section. But of course, at the same time, mere knowledge as to the whereabouts of the stolen property will not make any person liable under this section. Now, section 412 talks about dishonestly receiving stolen property in commission of dacoity. Section 412 seeks to impose liability on persons receiving property stolen in the commission of dacoity. Dacoity is defined in 391, being as aggravated form of robbery, is dealt with more strictly than robbery itself, as is evident from a comparison between 390 to 395. It therefore calls for an equal strictness in dealing with receipt of property obtained through the commission of dacoity. Section 412 say that whoever dishonestly receives or retains any stolen property, the possession whereof he knows or has reason to believe to have been transferred by the commission of dacoity, or dishonestly receives from a person whom he knows or he has reason to believe to belong or to have belonged to a gang of dacoits, property which he knows or has reason to believe to have been stolen, shall be punished with imprisonment for life or with rigorous imprisonment for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall also be liable to fine. Section 12 actually deals with those persons other than the dacoit themselves. So when property stolen of dacoity was obtained from the accused and it was later discovered that the accused was a dacoit himself, he was held liable for the dacoity and not for mere receipt of the property of dacoity. Where such recovery is immediately after the dacoity, the accused persons shall render themselves liable for conviction both for dacoity and for receipt of property of dacoity. Section 413 talks about habitually dealing in stolen property. Whoever, it says section 413 says, whoever habitually receives or deals in property which he knows or has reason to believe to be stolen property shall be punished with imprisonment for life or imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall also be liable to fine. Section 414 imposes liability on those persons who voluntarily help the offenders in concealment of stolen property and work against law. Hence, to seek conviction under section 414, it is necessary for the prosecution to prove that the accused, knowing or having reason to believe that the property was stolen, helped in its concealment and or disposal. It is, however, not necessary to trace the conviction of the thief. In fact, the Supreme Court has held that to convict a person for voluntary concealment or disposition of stolen property, it is not necessary that the primary accused of the crime need be arrested first. However, a person spending money stolen by someone else does not come within the ambit of expression voluntarily assist in concealing or disposing of making away, and thereby cannot be convicted and 414. Actually, section 414 talks about assisting in concealment of stolen property. बट इसका ये मतलब नहीं कि मान लीजिए एक चोर है जिसने चोरी किया है, ले आके पैसा घर वाली को दे दिया, वो जाकर के बाहर ऑर्नामेंट खरीद रही, साड़ी खरीद रही, बढ़िया से गहने बनवा रही, उसको नहीं पता है ये चोरी की प्रॉपर्टी है. सो whoever use such stolen money cannot be held liable. अगर लेकिन अगर उसे पता है, then criminal liability will be imposed. So today we have discussed receiving of the stolen property dishonestly and aggravated form of stolen property. I hope this video will unlock about this offense and will be fruitful. I will continue in next video lecture other offenses against property. Thank you very much. Thank you all.